both today, Indira and Tahar. How are you doing today?
Doing good. You?
Thank you, Sarah.
Doing well, especially to be speaking with you both. Before we start, I just have to tell you, Indira, how much your performance in Obi-Wan Kenobi as Tala means to me and so many other MENA and South Asian people, and how amazing it is to see a brown actress like yourself in this role in Star Wars, and Tahar, to see your amazing success as an French Algerian actor for the MENA community, especially your accolade performance in the Mauritanian. I just had to get that out there, and it's an honor to be speaking with you both.
Thank you so much.
Um, so a question first for both of you. We're in the midst of a climate catastrophe literally right now, and the time to act is increasingly pressing. So how did each of you take the magnitude of our worldwide situation right now for your performances?
I don't think you can actually carry that load on one man's shoulders. You know what I mean? I think this is a load to be shared. Nobody can make change all by themselves. So I'm not going to take that responsibility. Sorry, but I'm happy to share it with my colleagues. And I think that's what was a huge privilege, to be able to tell a story with all these amazing people who are at the top of their game, and telling these stories in such a brilliant, informative way, all based on real science. So I was just happy to serve.
And I was happy to follow.
So, Tahar, your character Ezra, he's attempting in his episode to get further climate agreements again in the midst of the climate catastrophe, but he's finding it harder than expected. So, what was it like for you performing this role, and why do you think it remains so hard for different countries to reach a consensus on climate action?
I think there's a little confusion about my character and the other one, as I'm playing two different characters. I guess that you're talking about Omar in episode 1, right? Why it's so hard to talk, I mean, at the UN, let's say it's the UN, it's because in this case, we're not talking about money, oil, diamond, gold, whatever. It's about water, and what is water? Is life, and people just need water to stay alive, and that will be the major problem in the future, one of the major problem in the future. And they're just trying to tell their neighbors, can we have just a little bottle of water so I can share it with my family? Because now I just have a little glass. Can we just be human and do something about it? So that's the conversation.
Yeah, totally. For something that's so basic and precious to all of us, it's just, yeah, it's absolutely so hard. So, now Indira, your character Gita, without giving too much away, in her episode, she's really pushed to the brink in her attempts to save humanity, and she's especially keen on whom climate change affects more, namely Black and Brown people worldwide. So, I'm also curious, as we sort of touched on this earlier, but did you take any inspiration from your own experiences as an Indian British woman in creating this character and viewing like those differences in effects worldwide?
I mean, not so specifically, I have to confess, but because I feel like we're all in it together, and I feel like as soon as you sort of choose one allegiance, you're sort of annulling everybody else, and I feel that we can only do this for each other. I think one of the issues, though, is that often when you're in a privileged society, privileged country where you're not yet seemingly being affected by climate change, it can feel very alien, and it can feel like it's happening over there, you know. And it's not my problem. It's those people over there. And I feel like what's exciting about this series is that because it's in the near future, we are going to see what's going to happen and how it's going to affect all of us. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. So, I'm curious, like, again, sort of pressing on this avenue, like, without giving too much away about Jita, what do you think is particularly animating her as she's like, besides like simply just trying to save humanity, which is a big enough thing on its own, but where do you draw like inspiration for that character?
I just the need to save the world. I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, I have my connection with India and the fact that water, like Omar's issue, is an issue. Heat going up, all those kind of droughts, not enough food. India is suffering more than London. So yeah, and I've experienced, but I also remember, digressing very slightly, I remember buying, when I was with my family, visiting my family in India, buying a very early solar cooking vessel that could be, they could cook using the sun. And I think I was like 8 years old or something. And we've known about these issues for such a long time, but why hasn't any of this stuff been implemented and being used in everyday life? Why? Because it doesn't make money. And greed is also one of the themes that goes throughout this series. What do we want? What is motivating somebody? Is it their need for adulation? Is it their need for power? Is it their need for money? What motivates somebody? So I suppose in a way, yes, Gita is motivated by where she is coming from. But ultimately, I think we need to all be heroes and save our planet because it's ours together,
Absolutely agree. Yeah. And on that note, for both of you, who are some climate leaders today that you've observed that you may take inspiration from?
Wow.
Young Greta, I mean, she's a bit of an inspiration. And I think it says a lot about the fact that, I'm sorry, Tahar, I'm talking fast.
No, just
please just interrupt.
Keep going. I mean, I agree with you anyway. So,
but, I mean, the fact that she is of the younger generation and is galvanizing people and making change, I just think is remarkable. But I think there's lots and lots of individuals who we don't even know about who are making change. And I think that's really the world over, not just in richer countries. But I also, can I just add?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Please, absolutely.
I also think people like naturalists, like David Attenborough, his amazing nature programs, they are teaching us so much about all these the species that are becoming extinct or that are endangered. And that is all part of it. We are intrinsically interlinked.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she put it so perfectly that all I can add, except that I agree with her and on Greta, because she becomes a symbol, and we need symbol to make a change. But I can also talk about my neighbor about 10 years ago who was talking about this, and he found the right words to explain it to me. And from then on, I'm trying to do my best as a simple citizen, like, recycling, saving water, help people and whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, taking inspiration from our common men and women and gender nonconforming people worldwide who are doing such a great and important work. So one last question. What do each of you hope is the main message that people take from Extrapolations while they watch it?
I wouldn't say message, because when I hear message, it feels like we want to teach something to a student or whatever. I hope that this show will explain and make people see and understand what can happen in the future if we don't do something now. So if we can just, educate a little bit the audience member, then it's cool. We did our job.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Yeah. And that it takes all of us as individuals to make changes, even if it's a really small change. There are lots of little things that we can do aside from recycling, eating less, animal products, changing who we bank with necessarily, there's so many little things, but also it's like pressurizing the big businesses and governments and things like that, and also just telling a story. It'll affect people.
What a fantastic note to end on. Indira Varma, Tahar Rahim, thank you both so much for speaking with the Nerds of Color today. This was an absolute honor to speak with you both, and congratulations on the show and everything else you both are doing.
Thank you for having us today. Thank you.
Boys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life. Comics, movies, and TV. Yeah. Pop culture with a scene, hit play, so check this.